Today, Snowdonia National Park celebrates its 60th birthday. It was created to protect wildlife and cultural heritage, but like other areas in Wales, it's had to deal with the loss of traditional industries and cuts to services. So how is historic Snowdonia coping in the 21st century?
These are delicate areas and they're easily lost, and we need to pass them in a better shape, better condition to future generations.
And could a digital future be a way to bring jobs to the mountains?
There's no reason why Snowdonia can't actually be the Silicon Valley of the UK.
National parks were created in the years when Britain was rebuilding after the Second World War. The earliest were designated in 1951, and Snowdonia was among them. This first Welsh national park was about conserving the past. But 60 years on, does it still have a role to play? A journey on the Welsh Highland Railway. It's the longest heritage line in the UK and crosses the width of the national park. Its story reveals much about the area itself.
This railway was built for a mixture of freight and passenger reasons. There's loads of mineral extraction going on all over Snowdonia, and here was no exception. There were lots, particularly of slate mines, and there was also a burgeoning tourist industry. So this train could bring passengers up to the foot of Snowdon and take slate all the way down to the ships at sea. We're just moving beneath Snowdon at the moment, which is northern Snowdonia. Snowdonia as a national park is much bigger. It stretches all the way down to Aberdyfi in the south, a huge expansive area, and a lot of it incredibly mountainous with some beautiful coastline, wonderful sandy beaches. And in amongst all this geography are these communities that still have this long established sense of we belong to this or that particular village.
The Festiniog Railway, which runs the Welsh Highland Line, is the oldest operational railway company in the world. It's run by a staff of 1,000 volunteers and 100 workers. But it's reckoned it supports 350 jobs and is worth more than £15 million to the local economy.
The line starts just outside Carnarvon Castle, sea level, and rises up to the 650 feet above sea level, and then descends really steeply to Bethgelert. It's going down at a gradient of something like 1 in 40 around loads of hairpin bends, and then it goes through the beautiful Aberglaslyn Pass and out onto the plains that were drained by William Maddox when he built the Cobb, and then into Porthmadog, a journey of 25 miles. Absolutely breathtaking scenery.
For Hugh Jenkins, that scenery would have been spoiled if 60 years ago the area had not been recognised for its beauty.
Had it not been for the national park, this whole area would have been huge amounts of hydroelectric dams. That was the plans, and it was only by someone getting up and standing in Parliament and said, hang on a moment, this is about to be made a national park, we don't want all these dams. Places that were as beautiful as this in other countries like Ireland maybe 60 years ago have totally been spoilt by reckless building on any old bit of building plots, and that just hasn't been allowed around here. There's only 26,000 of us live in the Snowdonia National Park, but it's a fairly vast area. It's 823 square miles. That's 10% of Wales. So it's a pretty big place, and I know that the world population is about to hit 7 billion next month. But here we're just 26,000 people, so plenty of space to live and breathe and enjoy life as it should be.
Snowdonia is internationally known, and it was well known in the 1950s as well, and it was designated because of its sheer beauty. It's a fantastic coast, mountains, rivers and lakes, very popular with visitors then as it is now, and it was a landscape that merited the highest level of protection, and the government designated as the first national park in Wales.
unique strength lies in its attraction to visitors. 2 out of 3 workers are employed in the service sector. Many of those work for small businesses in the tourist industry.
Tourism is very important. Over 4 million visitors visit the park each year, and they spend over £66 million in the national park. And the result of that is to support over 4,000 jobs in the park.
Welcome to Quarrying. We live here and we're in the southern part of Snowdonia National Park. We're a lovely spot overlooking the Malvach estuary. We have guests here for bed and breakfast. We have self-catering lets, campsites and yurts as well.
Sarah Hayworth and her partner John run a campsite near Dolgellau.
Our bed and breakfast accommodation is in the old slate cutting sheds for Arthog Quarry. So they'd have taken the big rocks and split it into roofing slates in our building, down the incline through our fields, and then loaded it onto flat barges at this little jetty here, and then the roofing slates would have gone on big ships from Barmouth all around the world. We use a lot of local suppliers, from the farm down the road to the shops in town, and the busier we are, the busier they are, really. I think that Snowdonia is what people are thinking of when they think of Wales in a lot of respects. They're thinking of the mountains, and they're thinking of all the activities like the mountain biking and the climbing that you can do here.
Around the time the park was created, a fascinating group of people, including New Zealander Edmund Hillary, were using this building as a meeting place to discuss an upcoming expedition.
We're in the Pennygood Hotel here, famously historic due to its links with the Everest expedition in 1953, successful British expedition. They actually trained here in this hotel back in the 50s and came here for several years afterwards as a reunion. Along with that, it's what we'd like to consider the home of British mountaineering. We've got several items in the bar belonging to the Everest team and signatures on the ceiling from not just the Everest team but Kanchenjunga and other major first ascents that done by British people.
Nick Pulley's family have run the Pennygood since his grandfather bought the hotel in the 1940s. They became close to the Everest team.
Our family got very friendly with them, and after they were successful, they came back every 5 years for a reunion and a bit of a party and get to see all of the crew again. So that's why it sort of really held that link with the Everest team in particular. In the last 10 years, it's become more and more popular. Outdoor activity in general with people. I mean, there's fitness in general everybody's more conscious of it, and getting out in the outdoors isn't just another way of doing that, and why not? Just being a national park will make people want to come here.
Many visitors may be inspired by Edmund Hillary, but they don't always enjoy the same success. When things go wrong, the phone rings here in the Mountain Rescue Centre.
Afternoon, on the base, Casey Gordon.
This is the headquarters of Ogwen Valley Mountain Rescue, in the most northern of Snowdonia's larger valleys. Casey Gordon is one of the team's founder members and a climber with 50 years' experience.
We cover all this side of the Gliders behind me and the whole of the Carnaths right up to the seaside. And then there's another team, Llanberis Mountain Rescue Team, who cover the other side of the Glider Mountains and the whole of Snowdon.
The growing popularity of climbing means the rescue team is busier than ever.
Last year, I think we had 130, which was well up on the previous year, and already this year we've passed the same target number of incidents that we had at the same date last year. The most common incident perhaps is slips, slides and stumbles. Broken ankles, broken legs mainly.
The mountain rescue teams, who apart from the RAF crews are all unpaid, recognise the importance of visitors to the area, but they also see the cost paid by the countryside.
Erosion on the mountains is quite noticeable. Footpaths appearing where 10 years ago there wasn't any sign of people passing by. And the trouble with footpath appearing, heavy rain, you get washout, washes the soil away, and then you get just a dirt track appearing, more rain washes it out, and you've got to get scar down the hillside.
20% of the area of Wales is covered by national parks, 25% if you include the area of outstanding natural beauties. And for a small country, we're very lucky. It's a jewel in the Welsh crown, if you like, and I think it's very important that we look after it.
The boundaries of the park were drawn up to exclude many areas of industry, such as the slate quarries of Llanberis. All the same, many of the jobs they once created have gone. The Snowdonia hill farmers have been forced to change too. This land between Barmouth and Harlech has been worked for more than a century by Aled Morgan Jones's family.
Well, this farm was purchased, I believe, in 1899. It was purchased by my great-grandfather. So, in fact, I'm the fourth generation to farm here in Cefnitcha Farm. By now, over the years, we've purchased more land, and it now stands at 550 acres. It is a proper hill farm, so there isn't a lot of production because of the rough ground and the rough terrain.
Whereas previous generations of Aled's family were encouraged to concentrate on improving land for food production, today's hill farmers are persuaded to take a different route.
Farms in Snowdonia, I think, are going down more the conservation trail than the production trail. There are schemes out there where the farmer is paid to look after, to be a warden, if you like, for his land, to make sure that wetlands and forests and what have you are kept in good condition. Wildlife is protected, where years ago you were compensated or you were helped to improve the land to make it more productive for sheep and cows. By now it's going totally the other way. You're being paid to return that land to what it was before it was improved.
Part of Aled's conservation drive has been to restore miles of stone wall.
We've had contractors in to build these walls for 20 odd years now, since 1989, which has improved the look of the farm. It's given a good shelter for livestock, but what's more important, it's given local people work, and the money that has been paid into conservation schemes have been recycled in the area, and that's what it's all about, really. We have the mountains, we have the seas, we have lakes, we have waterfalls, we have rivers, and that's within a very small area. And speaking to a lot of visitors over the last couple of months, they do appreciate the area, and they are coming back, sort of thing, and that's what we want, because we need to generate some kind of income into an area where industries are not to be had, big companies are not here,
The upland hill farmers are clearly struggling, and they're precious to us because Snowdonia is a living landscape. What you see around you is not entirely natural. It's been created by man over the centuries, and the farming communities have an important part to play, and have done so over the centuries, in looking after that landscape.
But at 1,200 farms in Snowdonia, but it's mainly only the very largest who make a living through farming alone. Others are finding ever more interesting ways of making the land pay. Roger Payne bought this farm near the village of Llanbedr in 1997. It had been empty for 20 years and there was plenty to do to turn it into a viable business.
When the National Park was founded in 1951, it was a working farm and was supporting a family. In fact, probably an extended family. But the history of the farm, or the story of the farm, since then is very much the story of the National Park, because it's a working park and that people in it have to make a living. And so as time's gone by, the farms have had to either get bigger or they've had to find other ways to make a living.
Roger and his wife Leslie turned their barns into self-catering accommodation, but farming itself continued to contribute little to the business.
So I was just racking my brains and thinking, well, is there something we can do with wool? Because wool just has no value. And my wife said, well, what can you do with this wool? And I said, well, let's reinvent the blanket. She said, what do you mean reinvent the blanket? I said, I don't know really. Perhaps we can stuff wool in a duvet. Well, she said, you can't stuff wool in a duvet. And even if you did, you can't call it a wool duvet because nobody will want to buy it. So she said, if you really think we can do it, we'll have to call it something else. And almost immediately she said, we'll call it a barbet.
The couple launched the Barbet brand out of an industrial unit in Harlech, but putting their idea into practice has proved difficult.
You can't actually find anybody in Wales to actually make these products, and you can't actually find anybody in the UK that could do this whole process. And so we literally started from scratch. We had to find out, first of all, which wool we could use. You can't just use any wool. We have different breeds of sheep for a purpose. The different breeds provide a different job. So your Welsh mountain really makes very, very good carpets, hard wearing. It doesn't make a good duvet, which was a disappointment because we're surrounded by Welsh mountain.
Roger's focus has now shifted from the farm to developing the new business.
This is our raw material. This is the wool as it comes to us direct from the farm. Then it goes from us and has to be scoured, which is cleaning it. Then it's carded and then it's quilted and it returns to us as quilted rolls. This is our quilt as it comes back to us on the roll. From here we can make it into any product we want, any barbet we want. So we have our basic barbet duvets, and then we can have mattress toppers, cot mattress toppers, and even doggy duvets. Well, initially we just wanted to produce a product for local farmers to give them more value for their wool. But as time has gone by and we've invested more time and we've been working with manufacturing companies in the north and seen the demise of British manufacturing, we realised that unless we join forces with these people and make a British product which is as good as anything made in the world, which we think we have, we can then even go into exporting and perhaps even sell to the Chinese.
The industries which sustained Snowdonia a century ago have declined. The manufacturing sector is weak. But could modern technologies create new jobs in this remote area of Wales?
I think there are a number of opportunities that possibly Snowdonia could be exploiting. If you take, for example, an international model that's worked pretty well, for example, Silicon Valley in the US, that has developed an area, a region, into essentially worldwide capability in a key value-driven sector. And it's prospered beyond all belief. There's no reason why Snowdonia can't actually be the Silicon Valley of the UK.
Dr. Jones says small digital firms could set up anywhere in rural communities. They would not impact on the environment and could improve prospects for local youngsters.
What I would say to 16, 17-year-olds is if they understand the technology, if they're capable of navigating around a website, How about starting to build websites? How about starting to think entrepreneurially? How about starting to go out there and see what they can do? Start as a cottage industry, start as a hobby, and you never know what it might build into.
Snowdonia has always enjoyed attention, not all of it good. Prince Charles called the old cafe on Snowdon's summit the highest slum in Wales. 2 years ago it was replaced by an £8.4 million visitor centre. More recently, it was the removal of a rogue 4x4 from the top of the mountain which attracted media attention. Even in these tough times, tourism towers over the Snowdonia economy like Mount Snowdon itself.
If you ask people in America or other far-flung countries, they might have heard about Cardiff or rugby or things like that, but they've just about all heard of Snowdon and Snowdonia. Snowdon is our icon, and thus Snowdonia, vital.
If you look at a static point of view of the world as it is now, and think about all the times in the last 100 years where the region and the world has faced similar challenges, things have always been overcome, and they've been overcome by staying true to what a region is good at. And that means fundamentally good agriculture and good tourism. Everything else will help develop the region and bring people in, but obviously there's an imperative there to stay true to what Snowdonia really can do very well.
60 years on from the park's creation, the way it balances its duty to preserve with its need to attract new visitors will be key to its future.
I think that living in the national park in the 21st century is a balancing act between preserving the park and the character of the park, and then meeting continuing expectations of tourists. You know, they want to go and stay in unusual accommodation, they want to go and stay in a gypsy caravan in the Beacon Beacons or a converted railway carriage in the Pembrokeshire National Park, and they want that sort of unusual accommodation and memorable experiences. So it's how you balance that with the more traditional elements of being in the park.
These are delicate areas and they're easily lost, and we need to pass them in a better shape, better condition to future generations, so they can also enjoy what we couldn't enjoy today.
Next week, what has Europe done for Wales? We've received billions of pounds in European aid, but has it been spent wisely?